Have you encountered any detours lately? Hey friends, it's Pastor Mike from Fellowship Church. Always love to connect with you midweek. Hope you're staying warm during this little cold snap. That question for you again, have you encountered any detours lately? Now, it's been said before that in the state of Michigan, we only have two seasons, winter and orange barrels, because we're well acquainted with all of that road construction, orange barrels, and detours. If you've driven through Grand Haven over the last several months, you know there's major detours in Grand Haven, and detours can be such an inconvenience. But did you know that there's a detour built right into the Christmas story? In Matthew's gospel, when Matthew is telling the story of Jesus' birth, of course, there's Joseph and Mary and the angel, of course, speaking. But not long after Jesus is born, that angel comes back to Joseph again and says, Joseph, I want you to take the child, Herod is looking for him, take the child and Mary, and I want you to detour to Egypt. I can only imagine what was in Joseph's mind when he heard that, because first of all, Joseph had never been to Egypt before, as close as I can tell. Egypt is several hundred miles away from Israel. Maybe you saw that on the map on Sunday. I doubt that they had decent transportation, traveling supplies, and here's the kicker, I don't think either one of them spoke a word of Egyptian. They had no place to stay when they got there. But the angel says, Joseph, I want you to go to Egypt. I'm sure Joseph and Mary were both thinking, Nazareth. We'll raise Jesus in Nazareth. Cute little bungalow, good schools, plenty of friends. We'll raise Jesus in Nazareth. God said, Egypt instead. And they weren't not prepared for it. See, that's the thing about detours. We're usually not prepared for them. And here we are in the Christmas story, expecting that God will be working one way. Let's send Joseph and Mary back to Nazareth. They can raise Jesus there. And instead, God says, Egypt. Does that sound familiar to you at all? Of course, that might fit with traveling on the roads in the state of Michigan, but here's another place that fits in. Life in general. Hey, let's just call it the way it is. The year 2020, and since then, one great big detour. We like to think that we understand exactly how God is working in our life. We like to make our plans. We like to think that our future is secure, and this is exactly what it looks like. And then life throws us a curveball, and we find ourselves off on a detour. Now, that detour could be relational. That detour could be related to a job. It could be related to health. Friends, you will encounter detours in this life. You thought you were moving in this direction. You thought your future looked like this. And instead, there's a detour. And those detours come from all kinds of directions. But here's what we know for sure. God works in the detours. God allowed that detour to take place in Joseph and Mary and Jesus' life. I don't know how they survived when they got to Egypt, but eventually, they made their way back to Israel. The child was safe from that awful King Herod. Jesus was raised, ultimately becomes Messiah, Savior of the world. That detour was part of the story. It's not as if God lost sight of them for a minute. God knew exactly where they were. They just happened to be in Egypt. But God knew exactly what was going on. He was still working behind the scenes. Friends, you might be facing a very significant detour in your life right now. Let me just share with you that God has not lost sight of you. God knows where all the detour signs are. He understands the orange barrels in your life, and God is fully in control, bringing your story to just the right conclusion. Maybe not the way that you and I had planned, but God is in charge of your story, and He understands the detours really well. Friends, I hope that makes sense to you. May that just resonate in your mind the way it does for me as well this day. May you have a wonderful Advent season. Hope to see you soon. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.